Welcome to Out of the Parx with John Marks. I'm your co-host, Sam Stafford, alongside, of course, John Marks and the one, the only Maniac Malloy. Maniac, tell him what to do before we start.
What's up, brother? Like and subscribe. That's what you have to do. Please like and subscribe to the show. We can't continue to do this unless we get subscribers. Gosh darn it. So just do it for us, please.
And if you like, we will probably get more subscribers.
Yes.
And comment.
Yeah, like.
Yep.
If you like it, like.
Like it,
there we
like
go.
it.
Like.
Okay, guys, Phillies sweep the 2-game miniseries at Citi Field against the Mets. Now they come home for 2 against the Mets. Phillies, first team to 30 wins in the MLB. The first time that the Phillies have been the first to 30 wins since 1976. John, what happened in 1976?
I was born. How about that? I was born in 1976. I'll take full credit.
There you go. I know. I told him
Showing your
earlier. So
age
he
here,
was
bud.
born the last time it happened. And then we start this show with John the second time it happens.
Yeah, I'll take full credit. Honestly, I can't do it by myself because the show, just saying, last year, slow start. Year before, slow start. Out of the Parks with John Marks. Quick start, 30 wins. Guys, I don't know what to say other than pinch me. And I was telling everybody that was negative on Nola, don't worry about it. This guy's a stud. They have plenty of starting pitching with Aaron Nola. But all seriousness, I didn't realize that was his first complete game shutout of his career that he had yesterday. So, and he's come close before. He was amazing. This team's amazing. I mean, like, pinch me. I think I said the same thing last week or 2 weeks ago. Pinch me. This is real. They started 30-13. Randall Cunningham in 1990 threw 30 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. So anytime I hear 30-13, that's what I think of. Phillies 30-13.
It's truly unbelievable. Truly unbelievable. The NON, right? NON on Nola. You're not a hater, though, but I want to know, where are those haters at right now? Crawl out of your hole, those Aaron Nola haters. He looked unbelievable yesterday. It's just everything's coming up Phillies. I mean, we have nothing negative to talk about, and that's how it's been for the last month.
Yeah, they're peaking too early.
No,
that's what talk radio John Marks would probably be saying or worried about right now. But how can you not just enjoy this? How can you not enjoy this team right now? I mean, the starting pitching. How did this happen? Ranger Suarez. Every week we detail his Cy Young odds, and every week it's like, damn, I should have bet it 3 weeks ago. Damn, I should have bet it 4 weeks ago. He's amazing, the best pitcher in baseball.
Well, so if we're doing our Ranger watch, we've been tracking it each week. He's at plus 800 now. He's the 5th favorite on the Parx app to win Cy Young. What did he start at? Plus 2,500 when we first?
5,000.
Yeah,
5,000. So a $100 bet would win you 5 G's.
Wow.
He's 7-0.
If he wins, I mean, he's got to win it still.
But he's 7-0. I mean, if you're looking for somebody to win 20 games this year, he's 7-0. A lot of times to win 20 games, not only do you have to be a great pitcher, but you need to have a little bit of luck on your side to where you're getting a win almost every time that you're going out there, and you're not pitching a 3-hitter. You give up 1 run, but your team's not scoring and it goes to extra innings, or somebody blows the save. So every time he's been out there, Ranger Suarez has been unbelievable. And we're going to talk to Larry Bowa coming up here later on the show. He spoke about Ranger Suarez, talking about exceeding expectations, not only as a team, but the starting staff and Ranger Suarez. And God, I just see it now. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should have seen this coming. He's entering his mid to late 20s. He's entering his late 20s. He's really learned how to pitch. And man, he hits the corners everywhere. He's got good velocity. He's healthy. Man, it's amazing. It really is.
Do you think that he could set the record for the most wins in an MLB season?
Beat Denny McClain's? Is it Denny McClain? Or
What is it?
I have bad news for you. I don't think that he's going to set the record for the most wins in an MLB season by a pitcher, because that record is held by Charles Radbourn.
What
Old
year?
Hoss.
1894.
59 victories.
They don't even count that, because what is the new baseball era? 1920 they started or something. I think they count it from 1920.
I mean, and honestly, it should be longer than that. But still, to your point, if you're going out there and throwing every day,
Denny McClain, you're right.
Denny McClain, and I've interviewed Denny McClain. He had 30 wins, and that was in the late 60s, I think, which is unbelievable. So I don't know if he's going to get to 30, Maniac Malloy, but as far as 20. And more importantly, like, he's not even your best pitcher on your starting staff, right? He really is, but you have Zach Wheeler. And again, back to Aaron Nola. And I want to give Aaron Nola credit because I was one of the people that probably was a little bit negative on Nola. At the same time, defending him because I still think he's a good pitcher. He was really, really good yesterday. And he has shown, and this team has now shown, when you watch them play, guys, whether it's the starters, whether it's the bullpen for the most part, whether it's the everyday lineup, the backup players, this team has a look to them right now. A confidence that we haven't seen in any of these teams, with or without Bryce Harper. And it's amazing. It's amazing to watch.
Real quick on Nola still. So yesterday was Roy Halladay's 47th birthday. And you mentioned it was Nola's first complete game shutout. 2 years ago when they retired Roy Halladay, or I guess it was 3 years ago now when they retired Roy Halladay's number, that was Zach Wheeler's, what was it? No-hitter, perfect game bid until the 8th.
Perfect bid game until the 8th.
Bid.
But he almost does it again.
And well, it was Nola this time, but it's still cool because the ties with Roy Halladay. Does that give you guys chills? Like, do you think it's got any spark? Do you think they know that going into the game?
He's looking down. Probably not, but he's looking down and he's just kind of nodding.
Yeah.
You got this, guys.
I don't look at, I don't want to get too negative. I don't truly think of Roy Halladay as a Philly.
Okay, we
Is
crossed
that weird?
you off.
Is that weird? I
We're
think of him as a Blue Jay.
And speaking of,
I do too. That's okay.
I don't, but also I think it matters the fact that I was younger in the most respectful way to you guys.
Yeah, thanks for reminding us, Sam.
No, I mean not to get off the beaten path, but I mean, like, people will remember Roy Halladay, how good he was in Philly, but he was here for a couple of years, and it's not like he wasn't great with the Blue Jays. But listen, they retired his number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That shows
there
you.
Go. But we did mention Nola had a perfect game bid going into the 6th. And guys, we mentioned it because we texted in the group.
Yeah,
and
what
I
did
was
you
like,
say?
Hey,
yeah.
I said he hasn't had he's had 15 straight outs going into the 6th. That was the way I phrased it. But then John comes in saying, I don't believe in jinxes. And then Maniac just comes out right away and says it.
He's
and what
throwing
do you know?
a no. And I was actually driving and texting, one of the things I love to do. And I was driving and texting, and I texted while I'm listening to the radio. And I swear to you, I sent the text, and then I hear Fransky. That's a hit in the right field.
First batter in the 6th, immediately after.
Ain't no curses.
So I just want to know, though, because I am like, whatever, but I do it just creeps in my mind. I tiptoe around it. What do you guys think about the no-hitter and perfect game jinx?
You specifically avoided saying it in the text message to where I saw it, and then I had to push the issue. I've talked about the subject a lot. I love it. Scott Fransky, it was sometime last year, Scott Fransky does not believe, the radio voice of the Phillies, does not believe that he shouldn't use the terminology or the no-hitter or the perfect game because he believes that it's his job as a play-by-play voice, especially on radio. So if you're a listener, you should be aware that he hasn't given up a hit or hasn't given up a run or hasn't given up a walk, right? So he doesn't subscribe to that, and he gets annoyed when he gets criticized for doing it. He does. He gets annoyed because he says, my job is to tell the listener what's going on, and I'm not doing that if I avoid it.
So I understand that, but can't you phrase it like yesterday? I said he had 15 straight outs going into the 6th. Obviously, with that, then you kind of put 2 and 2 together, right?
Can you say perfect through 5? I don't know if you have to come out and say necessarily, he has a no-hitter going on right now, right?
And no walks.
Yeah, well, there's a difference between a perfect game and a no-hitter, too.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to.
Can you say perfect through 5 without it counting as you're saying there's a perfect game? On TV, at least you have the ability to look up and see that the team doesn't have a hit or doesn't have walks up there. But at least in TV, you could see it. But still, and I get the whole jinx thing, and I wouldn't necessarily want to be put in that position of saying it. Sometimes you can be creative in letting the audience know without coming out and saying, Aaron Nola has a perfect game through 5 innings, right? And I think that's what Tom McCarthy kind of tries to do.
Here's my take on it. Yes, the TV, Tom McCarthy, he cannot mention it because you can see it right there. Hits like in between innings. You could do that. Fransky, he gets a pass. He needs to let the guys in the trucks driving around, the blue collar workers know what's going on.
It's a no-hitter alert.
And then with the fan, you just can't be obnoxious about, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's throwing a no-hitter right now. Oh my gosh, I can't believe he's throwing a perfect game. You get to mention it like one time, but I almost think if you just even start thinking about it in your mind, that's the jinx.
All right,
it's too late. Once you start thinking about it,
we were at the game in the World Series where the Phillies got no hit, and the whole time by the fifth or sixth inning, you're looking up and being like,
oh my gosh,
they may get no hit, and they did. I was at one no hitter in my life. It was Kevin Millwood at Veterans Stadium. It was at 2000, 2001. I don't even remember the year, something like that. And I was there with my buddy Scott, who he's not like the huge sports fan. He was there just to drink beer. And he looked up and I could see that he finally had figured out that they hadn't had a hit. It's like the seventh inning. And I hadn't said anything because I'm like the superstitious type.
Yes.
And he's like, I'm like, no, like, no, don't say it. No, he's like, but they don't have a hit. I'm like, I know they don't have a hit. You're not supposed to mention it. So, but I've moved on from that. You know, I've moved on from the mentioning of it.
He mentioned it and it still happened.
Okay,
so there you go.
But want to know what the difference is? I'm a big believer in manifestation. So maybe if you don't believe in that and you say it, it rolls off the tongue, it goes into the air. But maybe it's when we all think that it's going to be a jinx, we manifest it and we mess it up.
It's actually a good poll. I would love to know what our viewers think about this, whether you should mention or shouldn't mention. And
what's the proper etiquette, the true proper etiquette? We need sets of rules.
In Fransky's defense, that is I think that he's allowed to say it because he does have a job to do. But I think there might be a way to get around it.
But you also don't.
Etiquette.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to be like, no hitter, you know, like saying it over and over again to try to jinx it. It's like when I think Joe Buck is good at doing this, where he'll specifically say he hasn't missed a kick like this in 30 attempts. And you can almost hear him chuckling to where he misses it. And it's like, you almost know. Because we know the announcer isn't down there blocking the kick or giving up a hit. But still, I mean, it's a real thing. Any sports fan feels this.
Yeah, for sure. So
how
guys,
can you not love baseball?
Yeah.
Oh, here's Millwood celebrates his no-hitter against the Giants. We're going to share this here with the you were here at this.
Was this the Ricky Leday? I was here and I was in right center field.
Ricky Leday's under it.
He made a catch. We were sitting in the first row in right field, right center, and he made a running catch to where if you ever sat in the outfield at Old Veterans Stadium, you would have to look over to see what happened up against the wall.
Right. Great stadium.
Yeah, it's a terrible stadium. And we could see it. It's like, he caught it. And it was like, but it was a great running catch. But yeah, that was a Sunday afternoon game. Kevin Millwood.
Kevin Millwood. I have the the wooden things where you have like the guy inside of a guy inside of a guy.
Yeah.
That was one of the giveaways back in the day, and I still got a hold of that one.
Kevin Millwood one?
I think it has like Tommy might be the littlest one in the it's got a bunch of guys on the team. Very good giveaway. We need to bring that one back, Phillies, if you're listening.
Might be worth some money.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe.
But guys, it's been a story all season long how good this starting rotation is. We gave Nola his flowers. Zach Wheeler, obviously still the favorite for the Cy Young at plus 200. So he's doing his job performing and everything. Ranger, we already kind of gave him some flowers, but I have to give you guys these fun stats because this is not only a historic season for the 30 wins and just how they're performing, but Ranger Suarez, first Philly since Steve Carlton, one of the best pitchers in all of baseball history. Steve Carlton in 1981 to win 7 of his first games, and Ranger is the first Philly to do it since then.
Both left-handers.
Both lefties.
Yeah, fun fact there. And then first Philly with a 1.5 ERA or better in 8 starts since Grover Cleveland Alexander in 1916.
Man, I remember that year he came out
Grover.
on fire.
He had his fastball working.
Remember like it was yesterday.
When you talk about jinxes and everything, talking about this ERA right now and he's pitching tonight.
I know he is pitching tonight.
Come on.
Yeah. But it is fun to talk about. And we just said there's no jinxes, right? Only 3 Philly starters since the year 2000 have started with a sub-2 ERA. This one might be jinxing the whole team here in their first 8 starts. And besides Ranger, you have Zach Wheeler this year with a 1.64 ERA. And then Roy Halladay, we already mentioned him back in 2010 with a 1.59. And Brett Myers in 2005 with a 1.63. So they're your fun facts.
Yep. And
historically great.
Historically unbelievable. And we're looking at some highlights from his last start here where, he is just working the corners and right there. I mean, sorry, good luck. The only thing you're doing right there is you're fouling that ball off. And there's another one right there on a lefty. he has everything working. The velocity is good. The the location's unbelievable. Just look at him. He's got ice water in his veins. This dude. He is so much fun to watch right now.
He's painting.
Yeah. And it's really a credit because the one thing I hate about modern baseball is everything's velocity, velocity, velocity. And I love these starters because they all know how to pitch. They're giving you innings. It's not here's 5 innings for the starter. Now let's bring in 6th inning reliever, 7th inning reliever, 8th inning reliever. They're going deep in the games, and the dude knows how to pitch. He's not winning because he's throwing 100 miles an hour. He's winning these games because he has 4 pitches that he can throw. It's a lot of fun. I can't say enough about this staff and Ranger Suarez. It's been great.
It's interesting to me. You mentioned it just a second ago there, Sam, that Wheeler is only plus 200 to win the Cy Young. That's like, I feel like those are just bad odds right now. If you're going to play that, I would probably wait a little bit here. I mean,
all these guys are bound
that's
to
a
struggle.
really short price for Wheeler at plus 200.
I think it's far from a lock.
Yeah, I mean it's still early, but man, those seem like short price there. I would probably wait to see what happens here in the next couple of weeks. Maybe that number might bounce up a little bit.
John, speaking to you, talking about Ranger on the mound right there, he does have an extreme amount of control this year. And a fun fact from Jason Stark, he's thrown 129 changeups in this league, and only one has been hit so far this year. I mean, we're knocking on all the wood today with everything I'm saying, but this is just incredible. 129 changeups and one has been hit.
So that's like what, 17, 18 changeups a game, right? So he's not overly reliant on it. If he's going 100 pitches, that'd be like 17% of your pitches. So he's using them in great spots,
right?
To where he's probably using them against righties, and he's pitching backwards. And I think you saw yesterday with Nola, he's got guys guessing up there. Right. I mean, really, and Stubbs has done a good job as far as calling games, but right now these guys are up there kind of guessing, and the Phillies have all the offenses right now off balance. So they've done a really, really, really good job. It's been amazing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like from the other team's standpoint, what is your approach tonight for the Mets coming in to face Ranger? Like, where are you trying? Like, what's your approach at the plate? Are you just sitting on fastballs? Are you sitting on that curveball? Like, I have no idea. The answers, you don't have one right now.
Nick Castellanos said in postgame on Friday, he came out and just talking about how good Ranger has been. And he even said from a hitter's standpoint, Ranger's delivery on every single pitch, which he can control and demand every single pitch so well already. And then his delivery is the exact same. So he said as a hitter, that's incredibly hard to hit because you don't know what you're getting thrown until it's halfway to you. And we all know from that distance with that speed, it's almost impossible to hit at that point if it's halfway to you.
Yeah, and even if you're in a fastball count and you get a fastball, if you're painting the corner perfectly, it's difficult to hit.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're leaving a meatball in the middle of the plate and you're looking fastball and you get it. So as long as he has that kind of command, and Nola's biggest thing has always been his command. And if he's able to command his fastball and he's able to put it where he wants to, because when he doesn't have good fastball command, what he ends up doing is over relying on his curveball and his off speed stuff. And then guys sit on it. And that's when he gives up the home runs. Yesterday, again, I mean, I don't know if they're pitching backwards or Stubbs. Maybe we should have a catching controversy here, guys. I mean, JT's out of the lineup and Stubby gets in there calling the game.
Well, you were mentioning, what could we, be negative on the Phillies about? There's really hardly anything to be, negative about except for peaking too early. That might be your only thing is, do we need to try to maybe address Stubby, who I don't think so. I mean, he's your vibes guy. That could really throw things off. I think you got to roll with them, but do you go out and add a guy that can maybe hit a little bit from the catcher spot in case of JT having any issues?
Yeah, I hope the knee is, the knee is not going to be one of these nagging things that once they come back.
But he was back there last night warming up the pitcher at times. So it can't be that serious if you're doing that, right?
I'm not worried about it right
now.
No,
yeah, we'll talk about that. But just to wrap up this starting pitching rotation and how great it's been, Christopher Sanchez did struggle a little bit on Monday night, But from a guy like him who's overperformed, or I shouldn't say overperformed, performed better than most of us expected. He came out, struggled on Monday, but then was really able to just hone in and collect himself. How impressive was that?
Yeah, I had the same takeaway to where by the end of his start, it was, you know what, like I was impressed. I
Yeah.
was, because
Yeah.
that could have very easily turned into one of these starts where, and none of the starting pitchers have done this year. And I mean, just think about it. You get the one guy that's like, man, he throws 80 pitches in 3 innings. Now you got to go to the bullpen again, and they just taxed the bullpen the last couple days, and that's when you get to August and September, and your guys are running out of gas in your bullpen. And now you're like, kind of felt like that last year when you went into the playoffs and you had the bullpen and they were gassed and you just didn't have guys that you could have a lot of confidence in and rely on. So, like, this is really, really difficult to sustain for an entire season. But the fact that we're 43 games in and they've just been unbelievable is amazing. Now, there's a reason why they're 30-13. The offense has been good. The starting pitching's been great.
You talk about Christopher Sanchez. You know, we've kind of make these comparisons to the 93 team and like with, you know, the win total and everything. Who is Christopher Sanchez's comp to some of these great Phillies teams in the past? Like, what's his comp for the 93 team?
What, Ben Rivera, or you wouldn't say it's Terry Mulholland because he was a veteran, but he was a lefty.
There you go.
So they had Schilling, Tommy Green, Terry Mulholland, Danny Jackson, and Ben Rivera. And Ben Rivera was very much the fifth starter on that team. And I think you can say for Sanchez, he's very much the fifth starter on the team. I mean, Taijuan Walker isn't great, but he's been okay. I was
about the 2008 Phillies. Is there somebody there?
Kyle Kendrick.
He's the Kyle Kendrick of the staff.
Kyle Kendrick was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm into it.
I like that one. Okay, guys, speaking of the 93 team, John, you sat down with Larry Bowa earlier this week. So let's hear what he had to say to this historic start to the season.
Great interview, John.
Thank you.
Not much, John. Everything's good. I'm watching.
Looked in the dictionary under Philadelphia Phillies. This man's face, I don't know what he would be doing in the picture. Maybe yelling F you at Daniel Murphy, but he would be right there. An all-time Phillies great, Mr. Larry Bowa. What's up, Bo?
Not much, John. Everything's good. I'm watching Phillies dominate right now and get healthy here. We got a couple guys a little banged up, but nothing serious, hopefully. And but everything's hitting on all cylinders for our team right now.
Man, they're fun. The win against the Mets in the first game of the series was almost one that, you know, kind of as a fan, when you watch these games, you say, all right, this is probably one they're losing. JT's not in the lineup. Like, they just look a little bit flat. But, man, this team fights. They really do. And they can beat you in a variety of ways. Let me ask you this, because the one thing this team hadn't done was start quick. And if they were going to win the division and keep pace with the Braves, they couldn't afford another 500 April, 500 May. Right. I did not expect them to come out and play like this. How surprised are you at how well they've played right out of the jump?
I'm not really that surprised, because I saw this attitude in spring training. I mean, these guys came in with a chip on their shoulder. They really felt that they underperformed going down the stretch. I'm not down the stretch, but against those last 2 games against Arizona, not taking nothing away from Arizona. I think they did a good job. But if somebody would have told me you're up 3-2, all you have to do is win one of the 2 games at Citizens Bank, I'd have said, put it in, because we play exceptionally well there. It just didn't happen. So you got to take your hat off to Arizona. But I think sometimes when you fail in situations like that, it makes you better the next year. And I really think that it left a bad taste in their mouth. And, you know, in spring training, everybody thinks they can win the championship and win a World Series. These guys were talking about this from Jump Street. And so far, everything's sort of clicked for us. I know people are saying, well, the schedule, I get it. It is a little bit easier the first half as opposed to the last couple of years. It's going to be tougher the second half, but we are doing what we're supposed to do to these teams. When we play these teams and we know we're better than them, we're taking advantage of it and we're taking care of business. The fight in this team is then the resolve is unbelievable. They never quit and they never feel like they're out of a ball game.
Yeah, and to your point, Dave Dombrowski in the offseason did a really, really good job of adding Merrifield to where Trey Turner goes down. It didn't feel like a major blow just because, you know, Merrifield can step over. Stott,
he's awesome.
he goes over to shortstop, doesn't miss a beat, and I love the kid.
Our whole infield. You can put Bowman at first. You can put Merrifield at second. You can put him at third. You can put Stott at short. You can put Sosa at second, short, or third. That maneuverability makes it easier for the manager. So when you get guys to go down, I'm not saying we don't miss Trey. Trey Turner is one of the great players that are playing right now. But the fact that we haven't skipped a beat as far as where these guys are playing and coming up with all the plays, they're doing a great job right now.
Larry, should we have seen the Ranger Suarez breakout coming this year? He's 7-0 with a 1.5 ERA.
I've seen this kid in the minor leagues, and he was healthy all the time. The last couple of years, not major injuries, but little nagging injuries that have caused. And then he went to the World Baseball Classic, threw too hard, too early. This guy can pitch, man. He's unbelievable. He changes speeds. He keeps hitters off balance. He commands the strike zone. And I don't mean he throws strikes. He throws quality strikes. The balls are not in the middle of the plate. He knows when to elevate. He knows when he needs a ground ball. He feels his position. He holds runners. He's a real deal. I don't want to jinx the kid. He's on his way to being in the conversation of Cy Young. There's no question about that. I look at the first three pitchers in our rotation. I'll put them up with anybody. Dodgers, Baltimore, Yankees, Atlanta. These guys keep you in the game. And I think that's one of our reasons we're being successful right now. We're not taking pitchers out in the third or fourth inning. They're going deep into the game. We're not relying on 12 outs every single night out of the bullpen. Thompson's mixing and matching from the bullpen. We got power arms down there. Everybody knows they can be in any situation at any time. And if we can continue to do this, and I know there's going to be bumps in the road. We've all watched the game. You've watched it. I've watched it. You can't keep this pace up all year, but you can maintain the idea of keeping that bullpen fresh for the entire year. And I think so far we've done that.
Do the Phillies have a World Series look to them this year, Larry?
They've had it since the first day of spring training. And then John Middleton gave that speech, which was off the charts. I think they realized not only does the city want them to win and the coaches and the manager and all the players, but I really believe that the owner, when he lays down the gamble like he did, hey, I want that trophy back here. I don't care what you guys think about my attitude, your attitude. I'm not going to be satisfied till I get it here. That means a lot. When an owner comes in and says that, and not only is he saying it with his words, he's saying it with his checkbook too. If they want to win as bad as anybody, and we know Dave Dombrowski's on his way to a Hall of Fame career. Everywhere he goes, they win. So if there is a shortcoming in July or early August, it wouldn't shock me at all to see them go out and get what they have to get.
No, John Middleton had said, no fan cares how much money I have when I go to the grave. Not many owners spend into the luxury tax like John Middleton does. He could have very easily said, hey, like, this is my limit. He keeps pushing and pushing.
Oh, he does. He wants that trophy. And I don't think, I really believe he means that. I don't think that when push comes to shove, if he's got to write out a check, whatever, I think he'll do it. That's how bad he wants to win. And the players feel that energy and they feel that competitiveness coming from an owner. That's unbelievable. And he got their attention real quick. I don't think you needed to get their attention. I think after the last out in that Arizona game, I think these guys sat down and said, you know what? We know the window is still open, but it does close fast in professional sports. But they're getting to the point now. It's almost like when we were in the early mid 70s, we kept coming up short against Cincinnati and the Dodgers, man. And we kept saying, everyone kept saying, well, they're going to get over the hump. There were two good teams that beat us. And whether it be an umpire's call, a pitch, an error, whatever, we came up short. And finally, in 80, finally we put things together. I see similarities here, them coming up a little bit short in 2 years. And now I think they're saying, hey, you know what? This is the year we got to do this.
Phillies and Mets are in the middle of a series here. And the Mets weren't good when you were a player, right? The Mets didn't get good until the 80s.
Right.
You guys didn't have a lot of great rivalries with the Mets, with you as a player, right?
Ours were with Pittsburgh, basically. We used to have bench clearing brawls every time we played, whether it was at Three Rivers or the Vet. It was intense. There's no question about that. But this is a little bit of a rivalry, I think, the Mets and the Phils. And I know we don't like them, and I know they don't like us. That's the way rivalries should be. We don't like you guys, and they don't like us.
I wanted to play a couple of videos for you here. You
Okay.
should be able to see these. This is you were a coach on the team.
Leads off the inning, and he's hit, and he charges the mound.
Poor Pat
and he's
Combs.
into Pat Combs. Didn't like it, and now both teams have come out of the dugout. Boy, couldn't react it in a hurry. Here come the bullpen.
And this was like a 10-minute brawl.
Yeah, this is a good one.
So what was that one about?
I think it was because some guys got hit back and forth, and so we retaliated. And I don't think you want to have Dutch coming up from behind you. Dutch was one of those guys. If you're going to charge him out, you better, as you're going out, better check over your shoulder to see where Dutch is, because he'd have gone in and stuck up for his players. And he was a tough dude. There's no question about that. Back then, you retaliated. When you thought somebody was throwing at you, or they thought somebody was throwing it at us, there was no need for the manager to go up and say, "Hey, I want this guy hit." They just didn't. That guys knew when somebody was throwing at somebody, and they took matters into their own hands. And to be realistic, John, it was much better back then because umpires usually let you get even, and then all of a sudden
It was over.
It was over. We took care of business ourselves. And now you get a warning. The warnings I see sometimes are breaking balls that hit a guy in the shoulder, which to me it's a joke. If you're going to hit a guy, you hit him with a fastball. Obviously, you don't go head hunting, but you hit him in the ribs or the
Right.
butt or the leg. But you don't hit a guy on purpose with a breaking ball. You're doing him a favor. And I'm going, man, this game is really different now. But and I get it. You want to keep all the stars on the field. They're paid a lot of money. But back in the day, we took care of stuff ourselves, and that's how it was supposed to be.
Bowa is definitely gone. Yeah, Larry's not ready to go just yet. And now he's yelling at Daniel Murphy. And Murphy's coming back toward the Phillies dugout. Now, I don't know if something else happens.
But
Ruiz is popping out of the dugout.
All right, go ahead, Larry. I love it.
well, he hit a home. They were beating us bad, and he hit a home run, and he pimped it. You know, and I'm saying, come on, this guy's a good player. You're burying us right now. Now you got to do this showboat stuff, and so obviously when it get, I pointed to my ribs, and Joe Torre, who was a disciplinarian at MLB, he fined me, and I said, for what? And he said, well, you pointed to your ribs. I said, well, I know a good rib place in Philly. Why don't you go there and get some Joe didn't go for that, so I got fined. But again, Murphy was the kind of player that I didn't expect him to do that. When you're burying a team, and then we were getting buried, they beat us bad that day.
Yeah.
You show up the other team. I mean, you know what's ironic about this? I got to go to London, and we're playing the Mets.
Yeah.
They're sending some guys that played on the team, and Murphy's going over there at the same time I am. So I'm sure we're going to see each other over there in London. But obviously it's water over the bridge.
And that's why the Phillies needed you, because you are that guy, Larry.
I was taught to play the game the right way. And like I said, if it's a ninth inning game winning hit, go ahead, throw the helmet up, flip the bat, whatever you want to do. But when you're beating the heck out of somebody, act like you've been there before, because the Mets had a good team. I mean, they were really good. They had good players. There was no need to do that stuff. But I watch stuff now that goes on, and I'm going, man. I mean, I see guys flipping bats and everything, and they're losing 10-0, and they hit a home run. It makes it 10-1. I'm going, I just don't get that part of the game. You're getting your butt kicked. The starting pitcher's in the shower in the third inning, and you're celebrating a solo home run when you're down 10 runs. That's a part of the game that sort of annoys me. And I get it's a different generation. I get all that. I'm into the swag. I'm into all that stuff if it's a game winner and all that. But there's time and a place for it. And when you're beating the heck out of the other team, because you're going to be on the other side of that fence eventually. When you play long enough, you're going to be the guy that gets the 10 runs. And the guys over there that celebrate on you are going to have to sit over there with egg on their face. So that was like a professional courtesy. When you're beating a team up, let it go, man. Just let it go. Run around the bases. You won today. Let's turn the page and play tomorrow.
You are the best. 60 years in professional baseball. Congratulations. An all-time Philadelphia Philly, Larry Bowa. Larry, thank you so much.
All right, John, and good luck in your new endeavor. It sounds like you got things going in the right direction. And I got to say, let's go Phils, and let's keep this thing rolling right now.
We're going to. Thanks, Larry.
Let's keep it rolling. What an interview. John, you got to speak to him even longer than what we got to see right there. What was your takeaway from it?
Yeah, he's a Philly. Larry Bowa is a Philly. I didn't get to go down to spring training this year, but we would interview him every year, and he is very positive pro Phillies. There's also a lot of reason to be positive about this team right now. Yeah, this team, a lot like the 93 team, which he was a coach on. This team is built to be a team in Philadelphia. It's a Larry Bowa type team. These guys play hard, they hustle, they steal bases, they can really do it all. And he thinks this team can win the World Series this year.
You gotta love it. 60 years, and I mean, man, what an interview, John. Thanks for sharing them with us. I don't know. I'm just giddy. I'm giddy about the Phillies. What more can you say?
Well, one thing I love about Larry, because he's going to tell you how it is. If this team was not good enough, he would tell us and be like, they need to fix it here. They need to step up here. And he would tell you. But one thing I loved is just how you even asked, you were like, how surprising is this start? Like 30-13. That's insane. And he's just like, no, I was at spring training. I expected this. That says so much more. And people that don't know Larry Bowa probably just think like he's just talking because he's affiliated with the team. But that is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, he believes it. I didn't hear Larry talk about it before, but I heard the talk about this John Middleton speech that he gave in spring training and how moving it was, right? Like the guys were really, I mean, you think about it. How crushed was everybody as Phillies fans, where I was in Arizona when it all started, when the series fell apart and we were ready to go to the World Series again. And everything just fell apart in a matter of days. And this team, to their credit, has turned it around. I was a little bit worried based on what happened. When teams make adjustments, right? We saw it with the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. They said, hey, we're just going to blitz you. And the Eagles didn't have an answer for that. Let's see what it looks like this year. But, like whatever adjustment Arizona made last year hasn't carried over to this year because the Phillies have been unbelievable. And the fact that the owner in spring training gave a speech that was moving and got everybody's attention, and you look at how this team's playing right now, is pretty amazing.
I think that's one of the things that stood out is how he said, John Middleton said, I can't take my money to the grave. I'm sure his family's like, Dad, just chill out.
Give it to me though, Pop.
Yeah, but don't spend all of it. But no, that really is just stands out to me right there because like you said, it shows that they're all in. And we've talked about it before. They didn't make a move last year before the deadline. You have to expect something this year. You guys kind of talked about JT before we got that interview from Larry, and that might be a move. We talked about the bullpen would be something that we'd want to see, but maybe if JT's not healthy and we don't know about Stubbs, maybe that's something they get before the trade line. So very
Middleton's he's gonna crack open the checkbook.
You
for
know
sure,
he's gonna do something.
It'll be interesting to see what they can add, and also you got to keep in mind though the feng shui of this team and how that's going to fit. So we'll see what happens. I loved him talking about and taking a look at those bench clearing brawls and how he talked about how the game has changed a lot, and it has. I mean, now it's like if you even throw it high and inside on a guy, you're getting warned. I mean, it's truly soft compared to with the eras that he played and coached in. It's kind of soft.
And by the way, and we're not talking about people getting really injured or whatever. What is it? Isn't it great? Isn't it great to see in hockey too? Like hockey.
Yeah,
hockey
I was just
fights,
thinking that in my head.
What happened? Well, hockey fights, and then you see some in the playoffs, and it's like, this makes hockey better.
Yeah.
Right? Like
100%.
With Doc Gooden charging the mound against a rookie Pat Combs is, much better theater than, the game's over or whatever. Like, yeah, you need this kind of stuff.
Well, we had a situation in Milwaukee just like 2 weeks ago with a reliever, Abner Uribe, and he got suspended for like 4 games for that. And then he ended up actually getting sent down to the minors because they didn't want to have the slot being taken up on the roster and not have a bullpen arm. And man, it's like throwing the guy's career off of trajectory a little bit.
Well, so I was going to ask, did you guys attribute that more to a league thing or an umpire thing? We've seen the sensitivity from the umpires this year with even just throwing out that Yankees coach.
It's a league thing. You can't have star players like, say, Bryce Harper, goes and cracks somebody in the face and breaks his hand or something, or he gets cracked in the face and he can't play. And then, that could be a bad look. But I mean, obviously, us hard-nosed baseball fans and hard-nosed baseball players, we're all for it, but
Yeah, I think it's just like with sports, sports have gotten soft, the leagues have gotten soft. Players are just different. So the player before, like Larry Bowa, that would take the ball to the ribs and walk to first base, like now looks at him and wants to fight him. And I mean, sports are just different.
What a time that was. But okay, guys, moving on. We are going to have a little palate cleanse for a second. And the Eagles schedule is expected to be released at 8 p.m. But we do have some leaks. Obviously, it's not confirmed until 8 p.m., but we have an idea. So the biggest thing, I wish we had a thing that we could pull up for you guys. But so week 1, you have the Packers in Brazil. That does count as a home game. Then you have Falcons home in week 2. Go to New Orleans, go to Tampa Bay. Week 5 is the bye. We'll come back to that because that stands out to me the most. Week 6 against the Browns at home. Then you're at the Giants, at Bengals, versus Jaguars, at Cowboys, Commanders, week 11, week 12 at Rams, blah, blah, blah. So
Rams at Ravens, home against the Panthers, home against the Steelers. That's going to be an unbelievable game. At Commanders, home Cowboys, home Giants. It looks as though, and Mark was telling me, 4 out of the last 5 games are at home. That's a great part of the schedule. Right. I love seeing that.
So you remember last year when the schedule was released and you had the gauntlet of games, which was like, holy crap, look at that. And we talked about it and talked about it and talked about it until they actually got to it. Then the season kind of fell apart in the middle of that gauntlet. But when you look at it, I mean, we could just go through quickly and do W's and L's to what we think if this is the case.
Ooh. Wow, I like it. Mark, are you working on trying to get the schedule up there? I think you are tentatively. Go ahead and get it up there while we talk. Go ahead.
Okay, so you guys, while he's working on that, we'll just start this because it's a longer schedule. Okay, so in Brazil, Packers, is that a winner or loss?
No, I'm going to give him an L on that one.
I think because it all trends towards being an L, I'm going with a W.
There you go.
Okay, I don't know. I'm going to say a win just to be optimistic, but it won't surprise me if they lose. Okay, Monday Night Football for week 2, home versus the Falcons. This is their home opener, technically.
Yeah, that's very much a win. You know, Kirk Cousins, I think 3 years now has to have the Eagles with the Eagles home opener. He will be 3.
Yeah, how about that?
Eagles home opener. Kirk Cousins.
And all of them have been wins recently. So that's definitely going to be.
Assuming it's not
what's
Penix.
The line on that ball game? What's the line on that game? Nah, Sam. I almost said Sam Penix. Michael Penix, well, he won't be starting that game.
Not by then.
Not by then.
Week 13, he'll be starting. But actually, you know what? Not that anybody cares, but the Falcons it's a pretty soft division. As long as they're winning games, Penix isn't going to see the field. The minute he starts struggling, that's when it's going to get crazy.
That'll start.
They have to do it that way too with the money that they gave Kirk Cousins. But so we all have that one as a win. And then you have at New Orleans. I think that's a win.
That is a I mean, I just don't think the Saints are very good.
Yeah, they're not very good.
Tough place to play.
Eagles don't play well there.
Tough place to play. Exactly. If you're losing, if you lose that opening game, I always like to go through like 4s. It means less to me, like win, loss, as opposed to I look at the 4 and I say they're going to go 3-1 and 4. Okay. So they're beating the Saints in that scenario.
Okay. And then you already have them losing game 1. Does that mean that you have them winning at the Bucs redemption game?
They're beating the Bucs revenge game. There's no way they're going down there and losing to that stiff quarterback. The Eagles get the win. Boom.
Yeah, I think they will too.
I'm with you there. I got them going 4-0 headed into the bye for sure.
Okay, I have them 3-1.
All right.
Yeah, I also have 3-1.
Well done, Mark.
There
Perfect.
We go.
That works.
It's okay. I like it. And then we go into the bye.
Well, now we can't see. You can't see us. That's all right.
It's okay. But then we go into the bye at week 5. I do not like that bye week at all.
Yeah, the early bye.
I do not
never
like
good.
that.
It's never good. The late bye. You remember the Eagles a couple times had like week 15 bye, and it's like at least at that point you're entering the playoffs and you get a little bit of a break. Having the early bye is the worst.
I agree. It's going to be interesting. I would feel better about it looking at the division and seeing when their bye weeks are. But yeah, initially I hate that bye. So then we go into week 6, coming out of the bye. We have the Browns at home. Do well after. Actually, what's Nick Sirianni's record? I forget.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm taking this one as an L.
Yeah, the Browns were good last year.
Browns defense.
It's difficult. It's difficult to forecast this. because it's all about how Deshaun Watson is
all about
playing at
Watson.
that time. And right before he got injured, he started playing well. Even if he wasn't having full games where he was great. I watch a lot of red zone. So he was playing really well, in particular in the second half. So if you believe Deshaun Watson kind of gets back to being the old Deshaun Watson, this is a very difficult game. Browns have a very good defense. It's also a 1:00 game after a bye week. So think of the mentality of a football team. They're 3-1. They come out of the bye week. They're like, oh, we got this. It's a 1:00 game.
Win or loss, John.
That's a win.
That's a win.
I can't give them a loss in that.
I'm going loss. I'm going loss on that one. Okay, so then you have them at the Giants. That's a win.
Win.
Easy win.
Yeah. Okay, and then at the Bengals. That might be a loss for me. It depends.
If there's a game
obviously,
that I
how-
really want to go to, a travel game, I've never
Cincinnati?
been to Cincinnati. A little Cincinnati Skyline chili.
For good
little
reason.
Joe Burrow.
Joey Cool.
Probably going to be an L, though. I'm giving them an L to both the Ohio teams.
No, I'll give them a tie. How about that? No one's ever done a tie when picking wins or losses.
I like that, Mark.
I'm gonna give
wow,
them a tie.
that
Why
might
not?
be that might be the prediction of the century
A
there.
tie. Yeah, right.
The Dougie P revenge game on Sunday Night Football against the Jags. Win or a loss, John?
That's a win.
Pat, you're not even writing mine down.
You
Just writing
didn't
them
give
off?
them all. I did
give them all.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
All right, well,
so
listen,
then-
we're through 8. What is your record through 8?
I had them 3-1
Yeah,
before
sorry.
the bye. I have them losing Browns, losing Bengals, and
Okay.
then winning versus the Jags.
So go ahead.
2 and
So
4.
Packers is a loss.
We'll go back and get them. And then we have at Cowboys week 10, 425. What's the date on that? Is that the Thanksgiving?
Oh yeah.
What would week
I would
10?
love a Thanksgiving game
Because it's at
against the
Cowboys. That would be spicy. I usually have them splitting with the Cowboys. The next time they play them is home week 17. So that might be Christmas at home.
Week 10 is first Cowboys game. It's hard to, like you had said, I do
Yeah.
the same thing, Sam. So it's the week before
Okay.
Thanksgiving. Yeah, and I mean that to me that's a stone loss. The Eagles
Yeah.
the Eagles don't match up well against the Cowboys. They don't.
They don't.
So that's coming off a Sunday night game, although it's at home, but that's one of these big national TV games. Not that you need to get up for the Cowboys, but it's a tough game.
And then I guess that means then Thursday, week 11 against the Commanders is a Thanksgiving game. No, if that's the week
probably,
before,
yes.
no. The
So it's late.
following,
Oh,
a late
thank you, Mark.
Thanksgiving. Thank you,
Wow.
Mark, our producer.
Okay.
Commanders win, right?
loss.
What?
Thursday night football short week.
John Mark
Coming off the Cowboys, they can't lose that game. I have them as a win for that one.
I'll go loss.
Sam, this is the first one I'm counting for you. Week
Thank
11.
you. Okay. At
What'd you say against
Rams,
the Cowboys?
I said that's a loss. At Rams Sunday night football, I think that's a win. Week 12.
Well, if I have them losing 2 straight,
Yeah.
they're going to come home and they're going to, because that's kind of how I think this sets up to where week 12 kind of starts the end of the season, right? To where Rams followed by the Ravens. Rams at the Rams Sunday night football, it's a tough spot, but you get that little mini bye because you're coming off a Thursday night game.
Yeah.
Well, I think they'll be refreshed and they'll get a win there.
Man, at the Rams. I'm going to go win.
I think you also have to go win when you're looking at the next game at the Ravens. That's an L for me.
It's an L.
Yeah.
I agree. That's an L. That's a tough. They're a tough team, and it's not the playoffs that you're playing them in; it's in the regular season.
I'll have to agree with you guys. Absolutely an L. And then Panthers.
Redemption
Man.
game. There you go. You got a win right
Panthers were
there.
the worst team in the league last year. I think they're going to be marginally better.
It won't shock me though if some people doing their schedule predictions give them as a loss there, because that it could be one of those ones where the Eagles come out and think that
If they
It's an
win
easy-
week 13, then that week 14 games becomes a huge trap.
yeah.
Mm.
It all depends it really does all depend on how it lines up. When you look at these last 5 games, Panthers, Steelers, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants, I mean, really the Cowboys is the one game that you worry about.
Yeah,
Which
100%.
is dangerous because you never want to look at a team and be like, whatever. I mean, the Steelers are better with Russell Wilson too. So, Kenny Pickett's on our team now. So he's not playing.
Well, in terms of the Steelers game, by week 15, is Justin Fields the quarterback
was
by
just gonna
then?
say
Yes
they
or
have-
no?
Yes.
I don't think so.
I think so.
I think so too.
I think he is.
I mean, I'm not telling you I think Russell Wilson turns into Seattle Russell Wilson, but I don't know if Tomlin's going to have Russell Wilson would have to be bad, which is possible.
Very
It's
possible.
possible, but remember what their offense is. They want to run the ball. Russell Wilson last year, I think his stats were better than his actual play. But if you look at what he did with Denver, he's not taking a lot of chances. He's not throwing the ball downfield. Everything's a dink and a dunk. So that defense is good. Would I be surprised if Justin Fields is out there? No, but I would still say.
I say definitely Justin Fields will be the quarterback.
And
I think it's a win for the Eagles.
I do think it's a win.
What'd you say, Marks?
I said win.
Yeah, my argument to you with the Russell Wilson is just that Sean Payton came out and was like, we're going to play to his strengths, blah, blah, blah. And he even couldn't bring him back. So that is what makes me a little hesitant to that. So I do think Justin Fields comes in by then. Then we have at Commanders. That's a win, I think, across the board, right, guys? Week 16.
I'm going they win out.
Okay. I like that. Win out. I agree with that.
So if
they split with the Cowboys. I already have them as a loss for the first time, so they would win that second time.
And that week 18 game ends up being, if it even matters, right? Because if it doesn't matter, they could end up losing that game, and it doesn't.
Yeah, it could be one of those situations, but also after what happened last year in the finale against the Giants, you gotta figure that out. You gotta win that game, unless it's, I guess, a throwaway.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, and this is what makes this crazy is when we looked at the schedule last year, we were not worried about the last couple games. We were worried about that gauntlet, and meanwhile, they lost to Arizona on their home field when they needed the game for the division, which is nuts to think. Listen, if that's even a discussion of the way they played at the end of last year, then we don't even need to look at the schedule, right? And honestly, it worries me. The Eagles have definitely improved this offseason. They've gotten younger. So I think for the short term, not just this year, but going forward, now you have replacements for some of the older players on defense. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm not concerned about what we saw last year, which was the NFL, in my opinion, figuring out the Eagles offense. I'm glad Kellen Moore is here. I'm glad that you have a fresh approach and you're going to probably run the ball a lot. But they fell apart. This offense fell apart at the end of last year. So we'll see.
I got them at 14-3. That's the very, very positive. We got to add them up here now. Mark's got win. You said win.
Well, he's counting that. I have 13-4, so one game less than Pat.
And I might be 11 or 12.
I don't know. I feel like you were around the same as me.
1, 2, 3.
Oh.
6.
One-man team behind the scenes there. Good job, Feldman. We're distracting Pat. He's trying to count over there.
7, 8, 9.
Wait, okay. So
12.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so Pat's best. I'm middle. You're least.
And by the way, 12 wasn't. I could have been more positive and been like, "No, I'm losing 2 games in a row." Yeah, I mean, this. I wouldn't say this was half full or half empty. I think that this is their teams always lose games that you think they're going to win.
Right.
And a lot of times they make up for that by winning the game that you don't think they're going to win.
I think this year they have the Cowboys numbers. Their number.
I would love
I think
that.
they have their number.
Do you have them winning both against?
I have them winning both. I have them winning both. And I think
would love that.
That's the big swing there.
Real quick before we move on.
There it is.
Yeah,
one
final
time.
look.
Tentative. This is not official,
yes.
but more than likely.
Good job pointing that out because you're correct. But before we move on from the Eagles, there's a lot of pessimistic or whatever that word is.
You got it.
Pessimism.
Yeah, that is a hard word. What do you guys think that Jalen Hurts is going to come out and do this year? Do you guys expect him to regress, stay the same, get better? What do you guys expect?
Well, I think Jalen Hurts this year is going to come out, and really it's about what the offense looks like and play calling and coaching. He's not the type of player where he's Pat Mahomes or he's a quarterback that you can just put out there and say, hey, just win games by being you. It doesn't work like that with most quarterbacks in the NFL. And that's not a shot against Jalen Hurts. But you saw at the end of last year, poor coaching, poor play calling, and he got spooked. He got spooked by a pass rush that mostly wasn't even there. He really went backwards. However, I still believe in him. And I still believe he's a franchise quarterback that can win a Super Bowl. He didn't almost beat the Chiefs and Pat Mahomes by luck.
Right.
Like that's there. He improved as a passer that season. They need to get back to that. And I think the Eagles bounce back, and they certainly look more like the team that went to the Super Bowl than the team we saw at the end of last year.
I agree with you right there. I think Kellen Moore is going to be a big factor for Jalen Hurts too this season.
Something was absolutely screwed up with that team, right? What it is, we're not 100% sure. What they're making it seem is that it was the coaching. They have fixed the coaching. Hopefully. They're coming in with changes. That's the changes that are being made. I think Jalen Hurts has a monster comeback year. A.J. Brown is happy and paid. Devontae Smith happy and paid. You got Saquon Barkley now. Let's go. Offensive line, the only kind of sort of question mark. And let's face it, the Eagles have had one of the best offensive lines in football for a long time.
Yeah, they should be good.
They have one of the best coaches in the whole league. They're going to be good. I think they have a huge year. Let's go, Birds.
I agree with you guys on that. Okay, so moving into rapid fire, right back into baseball. John, it's no secret that Ranger Suarez is catching all the eyes from around the league. What does it do to a team when your number 3 like that is catching headlines? Does it really boost Nola and Wheeler?
I mean, I honestly, I think that it doesn't create any resentment. But if you are Zach Wheeler, or you are, and I think it's less about Wheeler, but the rest of the guys, everybody wants to be a part of the party, right? Like, look at what Ranger Suarez does. It also takes some of the pressure off Aaron Nola, and just what we talk about in the media, where I'm guilty of it before the season started. I said, well, I don't think the top of the Eagles pitching staff's good enough, because I don't think Aaron Nola is a good enough number 2. And then Ranger Suarez comes out and starts the season 7-0. So it takes a lot of the pressure off of Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola to where they don't have to do everything by themselves. I think it's a good thing.
There's been a lot of mini injuries on this roster. How concerning is the overall health for all season long?
Man, if you're talking about how this team gets derailed, it's with injuries. It's losing a starter. It's losing not just Trey Turner, but losing somebody else in the starting lineup, right? I mean, Alec Boom. He takes a fastball off the inside of his hand the other night, and you're like, oh, it's like, that's it. That's all.
There it is.
It's all it takes. It's all it takes is just a throw. Boom. He's fine, thank God. But we've seen this with Bryce as well. He took it off the thumb, and he had a broken thumb. So you always worry about injuries, and you can't control it. A lot of times you can't control it. So you're worried. You're
always concerned about that.
He's expected to play today, but this mysterious knee injury for JT. Do you think that this is something that the Phillies organization is going to have to address?
Well, a lot of times you try to figure out, like, all right, are they really worried about this injury? Is this something there's more to it, and they're just kind of low playing or slow playing it? Or is this just something where legitimately, like, he probably just needs a couple days? And it feels like that he probably just needed a couple days. Sam, you had mentioned earlier that he was out there warming the pitchers up last night or yesterday. So until I hear something else where it's either nagging or maybe it's a little bit more serious. But you know what? Like, if there is a little bit more that's wrong with it, then they are probably going to look to upgrade the catching position at the trade deadline, or at least the backup catcher position. So I'm not worried about it as at this point.
Okay, time to go out of the Parx with John Marks. John, they have the Nats in town this weekend. Who do you have hitting it out of the park?
Well, I mean, listen, I've been close. I've been right there on the doorstep, guys. I have picked the right situation or scenario, but I've picked the wrong player. Who was it last week that I should have said Castellanos? Because I believe he hit a couple home runs, or he got hot during the series.
Yep.
But, oh, man, I mean, Bryce, it feels like he had that initial pop after the baby, right? And then he's got the migraine headache. He didn't play yesterday. So I think after a day's rest, I'm going heavy on Bryce. Each of the games. I think
every game, that's what it is.
Against his old team, boom, boom, boom. Hammer Bryce Harper in the home run this weekend.
Maybe a little sprinkle on Kyle Schwarber, also a former Nat. People forget about that.
I'm going JT.
JT.
Yeah, because I think it's either going to be the Mets or the Nats. He's bouncing back after everybody's concerned, and he's going to be like, I'm fine.
Okay, I love that.
That's how he shows it.
And as always, Wednesdays, we have a 25% live profit boost for MLB games. John, we also have the happy hour boost on Fridays. We're going to do it again. We're going to do it again this week. We are over, I believe. We are over. But we're also going to roll out, I believe, next week a Marx and the Maniac money line, where we take an underdog on the MLB slate and we put them together. I'll pick one. Marx will pick one. We didn't get it in this week, but we'll be able to boost the odds. The Marx and Maniac money line parlay on Wednesdays. And that'll be up all day. The happy hour one, you got to get in on at around happy
5
hour.
o'clock, yeah.
5 o'clock. Jump on and take advantage of that one. So be on the lookout for that. With that said, we're about to close out the show. There's one thing I did want to talk about, and this is going to be for our little Instagram clip. You know, we try to get the people fired up. There's some bad MLB teams in the league, right? And I was able to see a little post on Instagram earlier this week, and I shared it with you guys. I want you guys to each give me one, and you can only give me one professional sports franchise that is the worst run franchise in all of sports. I'll start. Team that is just, I don't think they've ever been good, ever been even a contender. I got to go with the Charlotte Hornets / Charlotte Bobcats. They are abysmal.
Their only thing they're known for is their starter jackets.
Yeah, the
I had one.
The Muggsy and
color.
Muggsy Bogues. Besides that, they got nothing. Zilch. Nada.
That's a good one.
Worst run franchise.
I immediately run to football, but it's not so true anymore. I wanted to say Detroit, but they had a decent season. But overall, I guess statistically, you would say Detroit. They've never won a Super Bowl.
Well, you could say that about the Phillies with 10,000 losses, over 10,000 losses, right?
Yeah, but they'd have a World Series, and they've had good runs.
5 years ago, you'd say Bengals, Browns, Lions. You had those three teams that just couldn't get out of their own way. Cincinnati, their ownership, Mike Brown, cheap, doesn't spend money on scouts and things like that. But they've turned it around. Look what happens when you get a good quarterback or a good head coach. Yeah, you know what? I'll give you this answer because I was looking at MLB standings today. The Miami Marlins are 18 and a half games out. They've played 43 games. Guys, it is May 15th. They're 18 and a half games out of first place. Now, the Phillies are playing really well. This is early. I think it's the earliest a team's ever been this far out in this early in the season. And you look at that franchise, like they'll win a World Series and they'll totally tear down the team, but like bad ownership. Derek Jeter was running it for a while. Fans don't show up. Like bad franchise.
Well, I mean, I got to argue, though. Not even Michael Jordan could save the Charlotte basketball team.
Another one as of late.
He was part of the problem, true.
Another
so you got to pick from Charlotte Bobcats, Detroit Lions. Who did you say?
Miami Marlins.
Or the Miami Marlins, Florida Marlins.
Talent.
They have some World Series, though.
I guess you could say the Commanders as well. I mean, back in the day, they had some guys, but the Commanders have been terrible. So,
is there anyone we're forgetting? Let us know in the comments.
This is going to be a good one because we're definitely thinking of teams that are so irrelevant that we're not even.
Flyers would have to be Flyers would have to be high on that list.
Yeah, Flyers are definitely on that list.
Terribly run over. I mean, and I'm not saying this with any joy. I would love for the Flyers to be good, but. With Jonesy now in charge, I can't say the same thing. They're on the right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's going to be interesting. Let us know what you guys think because I'm sure that you guys are going to give this some good thought and give us some good answers. But Maniac, tell them what to do.
Like and subscribe. Subscribe to the Bet Parx YouTube channel as well as John Marks's YouTube channel. What a show, guys. I mean, we can't get negative. I can't wait to start getting negative.
That wraps it up for episode 7. Don't say that. Wraps it up for episode 7. Hopefully we see Ranger on the mound tonight. We might get a doubleheader tomorrow, depending on the weather. But we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Rock and roll.
Oh, yeah.
Go Phils. You could say the Mets are one of the worst run franchises. That's a good argument right there.
That's for sure.
Because you have to like for some
Jets.